Welcome back. I was not expecting to make a video today, but this morning, right out of the blue, Dane blessed us by finally releasing the second volume of the Codex. For those of you who don't live and breathe Twilight Imperium, the Codex is a sort of print-and-play micro-expansion that Dane, the game designer, he releases semi-regularly. There have been 2 up until now, including this one, with more promised sometime in the future. And seeing as more Twilight Imperium is always cause to celebrate, I figured it would be a lot of fun to just make a quick video that we can run through the contents of this codex, and then at the end I could make a tutorial on how to print the components that are included inside. So let's go ahead and do that. So we've got the table of contents with a nice picture of Hope's End, and then there we go. Alright, so the Codex opens on a joint resolution from the full seating of the Galactic Council, which is establishing the Keleres, which is a body that shall be tasked with investigating and persecuting threats of galactic significance. In this remit, they shall have all the authority as is their due as representatives of the Galactic Council. So, what happened in universe is the Mahact came back, and everybody started to freak out, especially the Galactic Council, and so they've established a sort of military investigatory body to try to deal with galactic threats. So the Keleres are a independent branch of the Galactic Council, which isn't answerable to any one faction in the galaxy. So for instance, they're not in the pocket of the Hakan or the Jolnar or the Muat. Rather, they are answerable only to the Galactic Council. And their job is to persecute and eliminate galactic threats. So, for instance, the Necrovirus, or the Mahact Kings, or, the Volwraith Cabal. The Keleres are in charge of trying to handle those things so that the galaxy can go about bickering over petty power struggles like it always does. Now, ideally, them being only answerable to the Galactic Council means that they're not going to be tied up in the political intrigues of any one faction. However, as we all know, Twilight Imperium is awash with political maneuvering and all of that stuff, and so it's quite likely that the Keleres, while they are supposed to be independent, will be, corrupt, or they'll be in the pocket of one faction or the other. We don't know. We just know of the establishment, and then continuing on in the Codex, we see that it is quite likely that the Keleres are going to feature heavily in the upcoming role-playing game put out by Edge Studios. So if you haven't heard about this, Edge Studios is putting out a Twilight Imperium role-playing game. Apparently, the title is Embers of the Imperium. Granted, I'm only getting that from the fact that Twilight Imperium Embers of the Imperium is right at the top of what is essentially an ad for the role-playing game, so I'm more than willing to be proven wrong on that one, but I'm pretty sure it's called Embers of the Imperium, and it's going to focus on these Keleres who are going to be trying to fight pan-galactic threats. So, whereas the game Twilight Imperium is all about the building of civilizations and the clashing of different factions and the political maneuverings and the manipulation of the levers of power, this role-playing game is going to be much more your classic sort of adventure game. I've never really gotten into role-playing games. I'm obviously going to be first in line to try to get my hands on a source book for this one, simply because it's going to be a treasure trove of lore, but I don't know, maybe I'll end up loving it and playing it every day. Who knows? But from the Embers of the Imperium ad, we can tell that the Keleres are the Council's, so the Galactic Council's agents, dispatched to serve as ambassadors, soldiers, spies, and assassins. And then we've got a nice picture of what a Keleres agent looks like over on the left, which I'm quite excited to have more TI art. I always am looking for more art. It's really difficult to make these videos with as much TI art as possible, because most of it is on little tiny cards, and all that exists are scans of those, so there's not really a lot of digital Twilight Imperium art. I've scoured everywhere to try to find as much as possible, so I'm really glad to have this. At least one more piece, And then Edge Studios also put out 2 new pieces of art. It's a Jolnar and an Extra, and both of them look really cool. So I'm really glad to have more TI art, and I'm really looking forward to Embers of the Imperium, if only for the fact that it's going to give us a whole lot more lore to dive into. Alright, so continuing on, we've then got a note from Dane, just talking about how fun it is to make the Codex and explaining exactly what it is. He also talks about how the timing of each issue is going to depend completely on his schedule and his bandwidth. He's not being paid to do this. It's not like an extra requirement from work. Rather, he just does it simply out of a love for the game, the community. He does it in his free time, and that's super awesome. So if you guys know Dane, definitely just, say, hey, thanks, you're the best, because as I said at the beginning, more Twilight Imperium is always a reason to celebrate. It's so much fun to get new stuff to play around with. And speaking of that, we've got a new lore story, I suppose is the best way to put it, called Artifact. It's, okay, full spoilers. This is spoiler zone. I'm going to explain the story of Artifact and some of the implications. So if you don't want it spoiled, go read the Codex. The link is going to be in the description. So go read the Codex right now. Pause the video. Go read the Codex. Alright, you're back? Cool. Let's talk about Artifact. So it focuses on Dart and Tai, who are the Nazroka commander, and their misadventure on a just rocky, barren planetoid. So the Nazroka send them and one of their big, huge warships under the guise of exploration in order to try to find the material resources of the planet, this planetoid. And so Dart and Tai are surveying the planet to try to find deposits of the ore. And so we get to see kind of interactions between the two of them, which is really cool. And then they're flying around the planet, and then they discover in a crevice in the ground an old laboratory that has a whole bunch of biological samples in it. And so immediately when I read that, I was just, okay, well, clearly this was the Mahacht, right? And then, yep, turns out it was. In the lab, there is a Titan, one of the Titans of Ul, except he hasn't woken up yet. And in his hand is the crushed head of a Mahacht gene sorcerer, which is really cool because, the Mahacht are supposed to be these super powerful beings. So how the heck did this Titan kill one just by crushing its head like a tin can? It's pretty cool. So Dart and Tai make friends with this Titan, and they take it back to the ship, and that's how the story kind of ends. Except it's really funny because they named the Titan Junior, which, he was going to call himself Dart 2, because, Dart and Tai are the first people that he's been introduced to, and he's got this sort of amnesia going on. So he's like, well, I'll just be Dart 2. And they kind of laugh at him and go, how about you just be Junior? And he's like, yeah, I like that. So it's really cool to see the sort of personalities of the different races. This Titan's got amnesia, so we aren't sure if all Titans are like this. But Dart and Tai kind of have this sarcastic sort of buddy cop kind of thing, a kind of dynamic going on. So that's pretty cool. It's really cool to see the interactions between them. But Junior actually shows up later in this codex, and we'll get to him eventually, but this codex includes 3 new relics, and he is actually one of them. So that's a kind of cool way to introduce us to one of these new relics, is to have it be this character that we meet in this article, or this story, I suppose. So that's pretty cool. So we've got the Omega Initiative. The Omega Initiative is this idea that we should be updating the game components and getting new stuff. And that's the whole idea behind the micro expansions that are the codexes, this Omega Initiative. So a couple of things that Dane has included are just quality of life improvements. I am so thankful for the Alliance reference cards, because I cannot tell you how many times I have just forgotten what an Alliance is, and I've had to reach over the table to try to figure it all out. So he's included faction reference cards, which will be great for drafting. And then also, if you're trying to just, at a glance, teach someone how a faction works, you can just reference these cards. I kind of thought it would be kind of cool to do a video wherein I do a little a quick little overview of each faction. So maybe we'll do a bunch of videos. Maybe we'll do 24 videos and dedicate one to each faction so that it's just a quick way for new players to watch a quick video and learn a faction. If there's interest in that, put it in the comments below and I will get to work on those. But otherwise, you've got these faction reference cards, which will do functionally the same thing, but it won't be nearly as cool. So, hey. But yeah, anyways, then we've got alliance reference cards, which they're exactly what the name suggests. They're just references for the alliance promissory note. So you get the Nomad's alliance promissory note, and you have no idea what the Nomad's alliance is. Well, you get this reference card along with it so that you can keep track. So that's really nice. I'm really glad that these are being included. As I said, it's definitely a huge quality of life improvement, and I'm super thankful for it. Finally, for new stuff, we've got the Ixthian artifacts, which we've got 3 new relics, and that's pretty epic, gotta say. One of them is Junior, the Lost Titan prototype, while the other 2 are the Nano Forge, which is a planetary attachment that increases the resource and influence value by 2, in addition to making the planet a legendary planet. So for scoring, that's just phenomenal. And then the Dynamis Core, which increases a faction's commodity value to 2. As soon as people hear that, they immediately think, oh my gosh, an 8 commodity Hakan. And yeah, oh my gosh, an 8 commodity Hakan is right. So I'm really excited for these to hit the table. I've already started to get the image files so that I can send them off to a printer so that I can, mix them in with everything else. But there are a couple of corrections that need to be made to some of the image files, so I'm going to wait about a week or two while Dane or whoever is in charge of proofreading this stuff gets it all fixed up, and then once we get the go-ahead, I'm going to go ahead and send the files away. But I did forget to mention, Junior, the Lost Titan prototype, he is an agent, so you can gain a second agent, or if you're the Nomad, you can gain a 4th agent, and he's an action that allows you to place structures on planets, which is just phenomenal, because now that there's 4 possible structure objectives, I think, in Prophecy of Kings, being able to place structures outside of the construction strategy card is just, I'm so excited for that. And it's probably still not my favorite relic, but just the fact that it's Junior kind of, bumps it up a couple of rungs. So I'm pretty happy about that. Then, and this I am super excited for. I'm probably going to use this weekend. We've got an alliance game variant. So instead of instead of everybody against everybody, instead of having a free-for-all game, we can play with teams. And maybe I'll do a video explaining the details of the rules for a team game. But functionally what happens is, at the beginning of the game, 2 players swap alliance notes, and their units can coexist in space and on the planets. And then there's a couple of other restrictions, but that's about it. And then if one of the members of the team gets to 14 points and the other member is at least 10, they win the game. So I am pumped for that. I am so excited to try to play a team variant of Twilight Imperium. I think that it's just going to be a ton of fun. So, I don't know. I'm going to probably try it this weekend, and maybe I'll do a video of my experience and explaining the rules. I don't know. Again, if there's any interest, comments. Alright, then there was a map making competition, which I did not enter because I am not a map maker. I just steal them off of the internet, so I'm probably going to put some of these to good use, honestly. But there was a map making competition, and these are the winners. They have been announced, and honestly, I was looking at some of these. These are hilarious memes. Like, this Mechatol is completely surrounded by hyperlanes, except for at Avara, which is a nebula. So I don't know. There's just a lot of fun to be had with these maps. I recommend, if you are an experienced player, or you've just got a couple of games underneath your belt, give one of them a try. They look like they are a ton of fun. So, I mean, I haven't played on any of them yet, obviously, but they do look just a ton of fun, and I get why Dane chose these as the winners. But definitely look through this and, check it out. All right, so there's a whole bunch of maps. But then the final thing in the Codex is an excerpt from the Fractured Void Twilight Imperium novel and an ad for the next book in the series, The Necropolis Empire. I have yet to read these books, which I know probably sounds pretty silly considering how obsessed I am with Twilight Imperium lore, but they're on my list. I've got a lot of books on my list, though. I'm currently working through the Gulag Archipelago, and that's a pillow of a book. Like it's as thick as, I don't know, what's something that's super thick. It's a very big book. So once I get done with that, I'll probably pick up the Fractured Void for a palate cleanser. And maybe I'll do a review of it on the channel. I don't know. If you're, again, any interest in any of these things I've said, hey, put them in the comments. I love to hear from you guys. But we've got this ad for the Fractured Void and the Necropolis Empire, and then that is it for the Codex. So it was a great time. Absolutely, totally lived up to my expectations. Dane has knocked it out of the park yet again. I am so excited to put the components into my game and just, have a ton of fun with these new relics and finally having reference cards for the commanders. I'm just super pumped. Anyways, so I'll now go ahead and do a quick tutorial on how to print the Codex, the Codex material, the Codex components. There we go. And yeah, let's do that. Let's go. Let's do it now. Hello again. All right, so let's go over how to print Codex components. So in the description of this video, there should be 2 links. One of them is to the Codex 1 files, and the second one should be to the Codex 2 files. That won't be done for about a week because, as I mentioned before, there are a couple of errors in the Codex 2 cards that I think Dane or someone else is currently working on resolving. So by next week, those files should be updated, and you should be able to just download them from the link down in the description. Now, once you've got those files, you're going to come to makeplayingcards.com, and then you're going to go to Playing Cards right up here and hit Start Your Design. Now, if you're printing just Codex 1, all you need to do... Oh, wait, no. Next step. Hold on. First, hit Custom Blank Cards. This means you're going to be printing on the front and the back. You'll hit Start Your Design. Now, if you're just printing Codex 1, all you need to worry about is right here, US Mini size game cards. If you're printing Codex 2, or Codex 1 and 2 together, then you're going to need both this for all of the component cards, but then you'll also want to scroll down all the way to, Custom Blank Game Cards right here. It'll say poker size up in the top left corner. That's for the reference cards, as they are designed to be printed on US standard sized cards in landscape format. Now, let's go ahead and just ignore that because the process is the exact same either way you do it. So we're going to go ahead and go up to the top, and we're going to print up those component cards. So we go to US Mini Size Game Cards, click on that. And now it's going to prompt you for a couple of details. So the first thing is it's going to want to know the card stock. Twilight Imperium is printed on M31 linen, so you're going to want to select that. And then you're going to want the size of the deck. Now, if you are just printing Codex 1, so just Codex 1, all you need is 44 cards. 44 US Mini size game cards. So you'll put up to 54 because that's the best fitting option for your needs. You'll do full color print, MPC game finish, and I mean, you can package it however you'd like. I just do shrink wrapped because it's the cheapest. And then you click Start Your Design. Now, if you are printing Codex 2, it's the same thing because Codex 2 is just 50 cards. If you print both of them together, though, it's 94 cards, and you can save a little bit of money, and you'll just put in up to 96 cards. Now, we're just going to go ahead and run through Codex 2. So we will do the option for 54 cards. Then we'll hit Start Your Design. It should load it on up. Now, it's going to have step 1 into the number of cards. Now, as I said, Codex 1 is 44. Codex 2 is 50. So we are going to put 50. The packaging is shrink wrapped. And then you're going to want to click Different Images, because that will allow you to design each card individually. Now it'll go ahead and load, and it's now going to pull up 50 blank cards right here. See, we've got 50 blank cards. Now, you'll want to upload those images that you downloaded from the links in the description, and then you're going to want to drag and drop them into the various cards. Now, I recommend, and this is why Codex 2 has 50 cards, I recommend doing 2 copies of each of the commander reference cards if you want to play the Alliance variant of the game, because then the Mahawked player can always have, you know, all of the Alliance notes just so that he's got a reference, and then you also have Alliance notes you can give to everybody else. In fact, you don't even, come to think of it, you don't even need to be playing the Alliance part of the game and the Alliance variant. In just a regular game with a Mahawked player, it's always nice to have an extra reference. So that's why I would say print up 2 of each reference card. Now, I don't want to go through uploading all of the images. I've got it saved, so I'm just going to go to my save project, and I'm going to open that up. But you can just ignore this part, because we're just going to be going through. Here's Codex 2. And we'll go back to Customize Front. All right. Now, this is what it should look like once you've drag and dropped all of those images in. All right. So it's got 2 copies of all of the different commanders. And then we get down, 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 and we've got 3 relics. Ignore the action cards. I just need some extra copies of some action cards. So I added them on to this one. But you shouldn't have that. You should just have commanders and the 3 relics. You're going to want to hit Next Step. Then it will ask you to add text to the front of the card. You can just skip this by hitting, again, Next Step. And then we're going to get to Customize Back. Now, you're going to want to drag and drop the backs onto the different cards. And this is very important, so listen up. You're going to want to, after you've dragged the image on, you're going to want to hit Edit. And you're going to want to flip it. I guess that's over the... I don't know. Flip it over the y-axis. There we go. So your end result should look like this for Arborek, for instance. All right. So you'll want to flip it over the y-axis, because otherwise it'll come out with the back of the card on upside down. So your final result should look like this for all of the backs of the cards. I'll just scroll through so you've got a reference. There we go. Nice. And then again, you should have your 3 relics. Again, ignore the action cards. That's just because I don't know how to print things properly the first time. All right. Then we go to the next step. It's going to be similar to the other one. We just are going to skip it because all it's doing is adding text to the back. And then finally, we've got a preview. Just check your work really fast. And then you'll add to cart down at the bottom. So again, just scroll through to give you guys a reference of what the preview should look like. And then at the very bottom, you'll want to hit yes, I confirm that all images, names, blah, 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 and then hit add to cart. I think it's already in my cart, so I might get quantity 2 on this. But that, you can do the exact same thing for the Codex 2, the faction references, and then Codex 4 it's legitimately the exact same thing. Just on the technology cards for Codex 1, make sure you always flip the back so that it doesn't come out upside down. All right, yeah, I've got 2 in here. So I'm going to go ahead and... I'll figure that out later. All right, so there you go. That's how to do it. Again, the files will be in the description next week sometime. As soon as the Codex materials are updated, I will get those files in the description, and you will be able to print this up and add it to your game and play with the Codex. So, yeah, all right, that's me checking out. I hope that you have a great rest of your week. I'm going to try to get out a video explaining the lore of the Extra Kingdom pretty soon, and I'm also trying to put together a video explaining how long is one round in Twilight Imperium in actual game time. Those are the plans I've got coming for the future. If there's anything in particular you would like to hear about concerning the Twilight Imperium universe, again, put it in the comments. I'd love to hear you guys' suggestions. All right, cheers!